intense of a 16, this time I've been home 16 days. I will have been home 16 days when I get on a flight in the morning. Which is it's a good stint. But interestingly, it took every bit of 2 weeks to begin to get, some bearings, and there were a lot of reasons for that. So anyway, I didn't get this recorded when I thought. The picture I posted was of the guy that won Ironman 70.3 Madison 2 weekends ago, Eric Engel, a guy I know. And the picture was actually a photo capture of the first clip of like a video that the woman I roomed with at that race, who was in charge of the VIP tent, which is adjacent to the finish line, she took the video of him winning and finishing and crossing the finish line, which she said was even odd because there were no pros in this field, which is not uncommon. And it's usually kind of exciting when pros don't race because it gives sort of the average, amateur a chance to win an Ironman, which they can't claim when pros are racing. And I had never even met this woman that was my roommate, and we really hit it off. So by race night, we were, the night before the race and race night, like laughing hysterically. Like I don't know that I've ever laughed like that with a roommate in Ironman. Like seriously, I really liked this woman a lot. She was 5 months pregnant, five and a half months pregnant. First baby, daughter. So she had caught the video and then took this picture of him. And in the picture, if you go to his feet, neither one of his feet are touching the ground. Neither one of them. Which, so it's like the guy's flying, right? It's like he's literally flying. And I don't even know how to tell the story. I don't know how to tell the story because there's just so many parts of it that really can only be fully appreciated by people familiar with Ironman, running, triathlons, races. Really, and some of the details can't even really be appreciated unless you specifically know the job that I was in that race, which is the expo coordinator. Like there's so many. The fact that I knew the guy is a small statistical likelihood that I would know a guy that would be that good to have the ability to win one of these races. Mostly because it's not my world. I've done a few half Ironmans. I've not done a full, and I haven't done one in a long time. And I haven't been in good shape in a long time. And I'm not this is not my world at all. I love the people I work with. There are a lot of great aspects to the experience for sure. But it is still working for somebody else, and it is still for the mainstream business paradigm, which always comes down to money. It's for money. That's the primary goal. And including and not limited to the fact that it earns me a paycheck. If I didn't have to earn money for whatever reason, well, I wouldn't be at as many races as I'm presently booked for. But I still would be at races. And this is one I would love to be a part of every year. I fucking love that race. I love that race. And even that can be a video on its own that could only be appreciated by other, Ironman specific traveling folks who know, the proximity of the hotel to the venue is outstanding. The proximity of our supply trailer to the venue is very good. The proximity of a trail a beautiful running, biking trail that goes around a gorgeous lake. And you've got the view of the Capitol. Like, it makes working out like you want to get up and work out. How could you not? It's just gorgeous. And a hotel that serves breakfast. Like, all the best things. All the best things that you could want, like what I evaluate in a race. Those are some of the best things. So anyway, I love this race. And, but it is still, like I said, this world is very different. So it's crazy that I would know a guy, actually know the guy. And I know the guy because he was a vendor last year. And my primary gig in the Ironman world is working for the expo. I have also since picked up more and more VIP, working with the VIPs. Basically, folks that pay a little bit extra for their families to have a little bit more of an elaborate experience, specialized experience during the race. But I'm primarily expo, and he was one of our vendors that was at, practically every race I worked, if not every race I worked last year. And so I have a direct, relationship with him, getting him, when we load him in and load him out, and so I knew him. And I mean, he raced Kona last year. I think he raced Kona last year. I knew he was good. I knew he was a good triathlete, but I did not know this good. And the first shocking thing is, I remember I was in the VIP tent for a second, and I remember hearing the announcer talking about the run course and how the second guy was gaining ground on the first guy, and he said he was doing, either he started at a 5:23 mile and then sped up to a 5:07, or he started at a 5:07 and was at 5:23. Either way, this guy was doing less than 5.5 minute miles halfway through the run and catching. And I heard the announcer say this. I don't know if he said the name, and even if he said Eric's last name, I wouldn't have known Eric's last name. I didn't know him that well. So then, fast forward now, not too many minutes, 15, 20 minutes, I'm at my vehicle, which is not far from the finish line, 150 yards from the finish line. Every time I work Expo Lead, which I don't work very often, I forget that the finish line, getting and organizing the finish line tape. The finish line tape for the person that wins, first male, first female, falls on my shoulders in that role. I forget every race. Now, I put the finish line tape where it was supposed to be, inside the finish line structure. And normally, we've got a full Ironman staff, and our guys that are in charge of the finish line, if I'm not there or the expo person's not there, they know to look inside, almost always, inside the finish line structure to get the tape. But this is not a race where we have a huge Ironman staff. It's mostly staffed, or at least half staffed, if not more, by a local company that used to own the race that Ironman bought it from. And their guys were doing the finish line, so they didn't know about it being in the finish line structure, and I just completely forgot. So I actually hear him announcing the winning guy, and I'm at my car, and I'm like, shit, I can't believe I'm too late, like definitely too late. He's going through the finish line right there, 150 yards away, totally fucked up. Didn't have the finish line tape. I'm like, oh my God. So I rush over there because I'm bound and determined not to miss the female, which ended up being kind of cool. Because more often than not, as I would hear from one of our guys, the Ironman guys, not the local guys, when I got over there and I'm like, God, I fucked up. They're like, it happens all the time. Usually though, it happens for the woman. So the fact that it happened, we missed the guy but got the woman, it was kind of like, well, it's about time we even that out a little bit then. And I just randomly and quickly grabbed 2 volunteers from a mass of volunteers. And it happened to be 2 women, and 2 women who had each just done their first triathlon. I don't think their first half, but I think their first triathlon the week before. And those are the women that I grabbed to hold the finish line tape for the first woman, who was also clearly going to be an amateur. No pros were racing. These ladies were stoked. They were like nervous. They were so stoked, which was so cool. So we get it, we hold it, the ladies, we get it for the women. So then I'm coming out of the finish line chute. I'm like, all right, 50-50, half. I fucked up the guys, but I recovered. And I see Eric, and he goes, I won. I forgot to mention that Eric had come by my booth, or I was sitting in the VIP booth. I wasn't working VIP in this race, but once we're all set up and the expo's going, I was sitting there working and covering for Jess, and he comes up, and I didn't even know he lived in Madison. I didn't know he was racing, and he was telling me it's on his bucket list to win a 70.3. But he's like, there's a lot of good guys racing. Like, I mean, I just had no idea. So he literally was just telling me about it 2 days prior. So then I come out of the finish here, race day, and he says I won. And I'm like, bullshit. You know, like I totally think he's shitting me. I'm like, no. And he goes, no, I won. And I'm like, what? And I immediately remember what the announcer said. I said, you're the guy that was doing 5:07 miles? You caught, like, because he goes, yeah, I chased down the first guy and I won. And I'm like, you're the guy that chased him down when you were doing 5-minute, 7-second miles? Like, holy shit, his parents were there and his new puppy, and it was awesome. Like, I just got to, like, totally, I mean, I knew, like, he had just told me it was a bucket list item 48 hours ago. Like it was so great. It was so great. And then like 5 minutes later, I realized the finish line tape is still in the back of the chute. So I asked the race director, I'm like, man, Rhino, what do we do with this tape? What do you guys do with this normally? Again, I'm not in this role a ton, so I don't know all the protocol. He's like, I'll give it to the city commission or something, or the visitors bureau. I said, listen, I kind of fucked up. I forgot to hold the line. I forgot to get the tape for the guy that won. Can I give the tape to him? And he's like, sure, yeah, absolutely. So I run out there, and then I was able even to tell Eric, dude, I'm so sorry you didn't have the experience, like, of having the tape. I'm so sorry, man. Like, that's totally on me. I'm so sorry. Here's the tape. I hope it can make up for it a little bit. And of course, he just cared about winning, but I really felt bad about, like, of all, like, I actually know the guy who I was the exact reason, the only reason that didn't happen was on my shoulders. It was my responsibility. So it was just wild. It was such a wild, couldn't believe it. And then it wasn't until I got back to the room that night and we're talking to my roommate and we're debriefing over what ended up being a really intense race. And she's like, yeah, I can't even believe I got the video of the guy. And I'm like, and because I was telling her the story of the guy, she goes, I got a video of him. So she sent it to me, and then she had taken a shot of the beginning of the video, and I looked at her like, holy shit, his feet, neither one's even touching the ground. So, and then that's what I posted on my Facebook page a Monday and a half ago, so a week and a half ago, thinking I would tell the story last week at the end of the week instead of this week. So that's the story, and last time, well, I'm not going to compare it to the last story of Synchronicity. I'm just going to kind of keep going here. This is me kind of practicing, and really, what I did last time, I would like to do this time too. It was to tell sort of a story and have that be sort of the hub, and then connect it to three other aspects or sort of story ways the story could go. And this particular, I just shared the story, but the focal point of energy, if you will, for the story, last time it was the treble clef keychain, a musical sort of reference that was given to me at the same race, by the way, Wisconsin. This time, the energy focal point was the picture of this guy literally flying through the finish line. Oh, I also forgot this. Very few people will catch why this is big in my world. But his finish time was exactly 4 hours and 13 minutes. Exactly 4 hours and 13 minutes. 4 is a very big number for me personally. My number, I consider it my number, my primary sort of energy 4, and the guy, my guy that I just broke up with for, is 13. And our shit's all ending right now. Like, all of it is ending for good. It's done. And possibly for the rest of this life. We don't, who knows. And this guy, I know, this race finishes in 4 hours and 13 minutes even. Like, it's just crazy. So, anyway, I'm going to try to connect it to the 3 points quickly and then get back to a more personalized message to somebody. But, so the first thing is light. Light. I think part of the shift in consciousness and the very real evolutionary shift resulting or correlated or integrated with that shift in consciousness of humanity itself, including our human vessels, is that we are raising frequencies to literally become lighter. I have experienced that with fasting. I have profoundly, fasting and what I go through spiritually, mentally, emotionally, every way is so phenomenal. And it's a regular part of my life now. And it's the lightness. It's light. It's light. It's not bogged down by the density. It's raising. And I'm not going to go off on more of that now, but that is one of the 3 things I was guided to sort of take as a potential storyline. The fact that he's, faster than the speed of light. I mean, it probably will be just a matter of time before people, I don't want to say turning into light, but, when we think about, Marvel characters or superheroes or anything like that, but I'm sure isn't one of them that runs super fast and you can't see him. I mean, that is what came to mind, is that Eric was literally like flying, and the lightness and, my experience that is gaining momentum with feeling that lightness and how that extrapolates out in these powerful ways in what you can then do with this machine, with this vessel. And in his case, running, but with me, it's a little bit, it's the type of work, it's a lot of different things, but for me, I would say it's most this lightness of even being in the world and the type of work. But that's the one tangent. Second tangent was, or second potential story connector was, I think it was just the sheer, the irony of Ironman falling into my lap. Like, it's just an example of like the speed with which that world, it is fast, it is moving, and there's just so much going on, and so many people and pushing themselves, and just energy being expanded. Like, it's just, like I said, from a sensitive, creative being's standpoint, it is a target-rich environment creatively, but it's also overwhelming because my sensory input is on overload. It's just, and the irony, at a time in my life where I was consciously trying to slow down to a huge degree, slow down, Ironman fell into my lap when I knew I couldn't say no. And so it was like transplanting me smack dab back into the world that I had finally sort of just released myself from. This I won't get into, but just more of this externally validated world, proving myself, pushing hard, just, achieve. What am I really doing this for? Just a really intense sort of highly motivated people. But I know for me, when I was in doing triathlons and really training, I was definitely running from myself, literally. And metaphorically, but I was literally running from myself. And it wasn't until I was running like 70, 80 miles a week and I got an injury that I was, kind of hit whoa, hit hard into a wall, and that is absolutely right when my spiritual awakening, I mean, really was about to blow open. And actually, I mean, how depressed I got was directly correlated to me waving the white flag of I can't have my life be so dependent on this one thing. I'm working at, like, something's not right here. Like, so that was the other kind of drop point. It's just the irony of the whole thing. And I would also say it's not accidental. And that irony is not at all accidental. Almost the training ground that continues to be for me spiritually. To be more calm within that environment. To be pursuing very different things within that environment, but no one really knows that except for me. Kind of there looking like I'm kind of playing the same game, but I'm not playing the same game. Certainly not now. But yet still being very much affected by the amped up energy of it, but very consciously trying to channel that energy in a very different way. And also seeking spirit, cosmos, light sources input on, okay, I know I'm not here accidentally, but what am I supposed to be doing with all of these iterations of ideas and the energy itself and the love I have of these amazing people I work with. Help me put this together here and figure this out, because I can feel it, but I'm not there yet. And that's part of what I think I'm going through with these stories too. So we'll see. So that's the second thing. And the third thing was just the overall, the pool of energy that is present at these events blows my mind. From my perspective, we have the potential to harness that in a lot of different ways creatively to allow it to have a further ripple effect. Right now, I feel like a lot of it, you just get this huge amount of energy in the staff, in the participants, in the brand, in the business, like all this energy. And I just feel like, due in no small part to the design of the paradigm, the business paradigm and the cultural paradigms, it just sort of, it just sort of stops. Like it builds up, and then it's just like, for these, I can't, it's just a feeling more than anything else. Like, you know, just that bottom line dollar mentality of the company side, and then it is sort of a selfish sport. I mean, they support one another, but it's a selfish sport. It's a very self-absorbed, selfish sport. Not to say it's a very supportive community, without doubt, but there's a very distinctly different vibe, say, in a triathlete or any individual sport versus, say, a team sport. I come from team sports. And I've done triathlons, and I've done, you know, more than the small ones. So I have experience with this, and I work around it all the time. So I just feel like there's a lot more potential there. A lot more potential to harness that and have it affect more people. And that plays into directly all the different ideas and iterations of ideas. So those are the three, you know, I guess the thought, kind of to sum it up with these stories, is find an energy focal point represented by an object, represented by a picture, an energy focal point. Tell a story around that energy focal point, and inevitably, invariably, that's going to have synchronicity involved with it. Just like the story of Ellen and the treble clef keychain gift, and the story of Eric. And I mean, just, you know, so many crazy things of how in the world did that play out. You know, the story itself will have the synchronicities, and then connecting it to other potential, because I think part of me thinks down the line it's going to be, I'm not going to say people are going to vote, but it's just simply where if people have an interest to hear, oh, I'd like to hear more of where that storyline goes, or more of this, or more of this way. So I'm playing with this, and I got it out. I got it out. I don't know if I'll be able to release that to the public because it was a little too, well, I'm not going to criticize it. I got that out. So, cool. I'm glad I was able to conclude second stories of synchronicity. Although definitely still going to be rough around the edges here. Still haven't heard anything from that sort of formal, trying to formally get a radio show that's on. And basically, I mean, in some way I can just keep doing this on my YouTube channel, and as you get followers, if you get followers, and then I look into a podcast, I mean, I can be doing it on my own and will be when the time, those are the next logical steps here. But this one couple influence in my world for now 8 years, they have their own like website,